sporttalk.com.
The U.S. Supreme Court has declined to hear an appeal on a Texas books case.
The decision allows local officials to remove books deemed objectionable from public libraries. The case began in 2022 when residents in Llano County sued over the removal of more than a dozen books, mainly titles on sex, race, and gender. A lower federal appeals court ruled that the removal did not violate constitutional protections against government censorship. Free speech rights groups have criticized the Supreme Court's decision. Keith Peters, Washington.
Shohei Ohtani has won the Associated Press Male Athlete of the Year for the fourth time. The Japanese baseball superstar's two-way dominance culminated in a repeat World Series title for his Los Angeles Dodgers. Ohtani received 29 of 47 possible votes in balloting among sports journalists from the AP and its members. That AP award dates back to 1931. More of these stories at townhall.com. Jason Walker reports technology is changing just about everything.
Well, back in the good old days, if you were in the slammer, your wife would bake an apple pie with a file in it and bring it to you. Not anymore. A drone dropped a package of goodies in a South Carolina prison yard 3 weeks before Christmas. Package contained steak, crab legs, marijuana, and cigarettes. The drone was recovered. No arrests have been made. Flying a drone near a prison in South Carolina, well, that's a misdemeanor. Dropping contraband, that is a felony. Jason Walker reporting.
Jasmine Crockett is launching a campaign for the Senate in Texas. The Democrat filed to run against Republican John Cornyn, aiming to flip a Texas seat Democrats not won statewide there in more than 3 decades. If they should pull it off, they could try to regain the Senate majority on Capitol Hill. More from townhall.com.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here.
And Santa's head, Vic head, here.
And you can win some great prizes with News Talk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
You forgot the ho-ho-ho. You forgot the ho-ho-ho.
Oh!
No, ho-ho.
Oh!
Log on to newstalkstl.com for your chance to win great prizes from Havana 1961 Restaurant, Trolley Stop Bakery, and Whistle Pig Outdoors. newstalkstl.com.
Oh!
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you're testing your blood sugar 4 or more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetic Health Hotline today.
800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380. Paid for by U.S. Med.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the clouds will be increasing as we go through the day, but very pleasant temperatures in the low to mid 50s in some spots. But again, becoming a little cloudy this evening, maybe a brief sprinkle or two overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, even a light mix possible. But generally, that's not going to be a problem for you. Tomorrow, a windy day and temperatures crash. We'll be in the 40s in the morning and by late afternoon dropping into the 30s. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Bring joy to the world, it's the thing to do. But the world does not revolve around you. Don't be a jerk. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
Happy holidays. Welcome to Colombo and Company on News Talk STL.
Indeed, welcome to Colombo and Company. I am Tony Colombo. In studio with producer Ashlyn, and another packed show for you today. Just printing off my show prep here right before the show and realizing this is a massive stack of papers. There is so much to talk about today. We've got Jasmine Crockett. Officially, we talked about this yesterday. We knew it was happening, but she waited to the very last second. So the news didn't break until we were off the air yesterday. But Jasmine Crockett is officially running for Senate. Donald Trump has created his media hall of shame. We've got an update on a story that hasn't gotten a whole lot of mainstream attention that I think is a really important one. Coming out of the University of Oklahoma, a professor there is now facing disciplinary action after giving a grade of 0 to a Christian student on a recent essay. The story there and the fallout from that, and there's some more layers to the story now, and that's why it's back in the headlines today, because the original grade was given about a month ago or so, and now it's there's twists and turns to that story. So I want to talk about that. The Department of Homeland Security announced today that in the state of California, the price for ambulance transport has raised by almost 400%, 383% in recent years. And we'll get into the details of this a little bit later on. But according to this report, it has to do with illegal immigrants and being on getting state Medicaid there, Medi-Cal or whatever it's called, and just all the massive costs that causes, including this. So we got a lot. There's so much more. Let's just get to it here. We're going to talk to our friend Susie Moore, our legal expert, co-host of the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show in the 3 o'clock hour, and here for the entire 2 o'clock hour, as he is every Tuesday, is the great Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. And Crane, we're just a few weeks away from Christmas. Somehow 2025 is almost over. 2026 is shaping up to be just pure chaos. And through it all, through the storm, it's important to remember, brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
Warm me up, baby, with those two bear claws you got. And bring me in.
Yes, sir.
Bring me in, honey bear. How are you?
I am good. Thank you, as always, for your time. Again, I don't even know where, like, listen to this headline. Former Vice President Kamala Harris declared herself to be a historic figure and touted there will be a marble bust of her in Congress soon. Like, what is going on today?
Is that with a bottle of Chardonnay?
What is happening in the news today? I mean, it is just these headlines. It's just so much. Let's start.
She's
with that
becoming
one.
the Michael Scott.
Let's have some fun and
political
start.
candidates.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's have some fun and start with that one, because I'm sure people are saying, well, excuse me. Former Vice President Kamala Harris declared herself to be a historic figure today and touted that there will be a marble bust of her constructed in Congress. And this is dead serious. This is she's very serious. She's really feeling herself. Harris made the statement during an interview in the New York Times regarding her upcoming book, which continues to just be gold, telling the newspaper that she no longer feels burdened. What was the thing? What was the burden? Burdened by what?
Not unburdened by the past.
Yeah. Not burdened by what
I don't know.
But
Yes.
anyway, telling the newspaper that she no longer feels burdened by the need to achieve a place in history. Saying, quote, I understand the focus on 2028 presidential election and all of that, but there will be a marble bust of me in Congress. I am a historic figure like any vice president of the United States ever was. Thousands of people are coming to hear my voice. Thousands and thousands. Every place we go is sold out.
Sell it out.
This is what I mean. This is in the New York Times today. There will be, I am a historic figure, and there will be a marble. And that she throws in that part about how every vice president is a historic figure, which is true.
Oh, yeah,
but that is the one, the one caveat, the one sidebar of that statement to, to not make it sound completely like a self-aggrandizing statement, but obviously that's what this is.
I'm starting to feel bad about mocking her because she reminds me of Hank Johnson or the Biden we saw for the last 4 years, intellectually challenged to say the least. The fact is, I would like to know what time was the interview. Was it afternoon? Because she's usually a bottle in. Okay. I used to drink Chardonnay. That stuff can have an impact, pickle the brain a bit. And she is showing that, but she's not even funny. She's not even telling a joke. She's declaring herself a major figure. When all else fails, just declare yourself that. Doesn't work that way, really.
When you have to tell people how great you are, yeah, you're not that great. If you have to, like you can't give yourself your own nickname, like that's not how that
T-Bone,
works.
call me T-Bone.
This is not. Yeah, that's not how this works. She's unfortunately she's probably right. There probably will be a statue or a bust or a plaque of her in Congress, but I don't know if she's trying to prove it to us or if she's trying to prove it to herself, because the truth is, and I think when she closes her eyes at night and is left only with her own thoughts, she knows that the truth is that she's never really achieved these. I mean, I'm not taking away. She's had a very successful career in politics.
I thought she was the daughter of Willie Brown.
But she...
Oh, no. She wasn't the daughter of Willie Brown. That's what she was asked.
She was selected. Sorry. She was selected and installed into her biggest positions. When it comes to a popularity vote, she has never performed well. Maybe in some state elections in California. I don't know all the, I don't know all the details, but in the last 15 years, since she's been on the national stage, the last 10 years or so, she is not a popular person when it comes to voters. So this I don't have to worry about I no longer feel burdened about my place in history. Yeah, obviously you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be saying these things.
It's time for an intervention. And I really think she does feel the shame that you're talking about. But I think it's in the morning. I remember waking up and with hangovers and looking and going, oh gosh.
What did I do?
What did I say? What did I do? Oh, my. And I charted it, of course, because I'm just that way, like, okay, 9:45. No. All seriousness, this woman has a problem. And she doesn't have any good friends, because good friends pull you aside and go, hey, whack job, you're not getting closer to your goal. You're getting further away and you're becoming a punchline. And that is something that people around her and surround her, she may not have any good friends.
Yeah, you're exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
there are so many, I think that there are, you could chalk a lot up to the people in power and their attitudes and their
They are so
perception.
arrogant.
Yeah, their perception of the world and the way that they treat people and the way that they behave and how that is cultivated by who they surround themselves with.
Didn't you play me a Joy Behar video clip at one point where she's walking up and she thinks everybody loves her? And she really believes that. And she's walking in past the person who's holding her door.
Yeah,
and she thinks
I
she's gonna be
remember that. I don't
greeted.
know if that was, I don't
Yeah.
know if we did that here, but I know exactly what you're talking about. But I think I go back to, I've used this analogy many times over the last 20 years. Going back to the steroids in baseball scandal, when all the baseball players went to Congress, and there were reports that Roger Clemens was one of those players. Mark McGwire was one of those players. Sammy Sosa was up there. Roger Clemens was one of those players. And it was reported at the time that before the congressional hearing, Clemens was going basically door to door through the Capitol and like going into these congressmen and women's offices, especially the ones that were like fans and friendly to him, just trying to be like, once they see me, once they know like the Roger Clemens is here, nobody's going to challenge me. And then when they did, he's the one that pointed his finger and yelled at different congressmen that were, grilling him about steroids. And you could see in that moment, like, he never has to deal with this. He never has to deal with somebody to tell him no, or that he's wrong, or somebody that doesn't just, when he, like if he's caught in a lie or caught cheating, he can just lie his way out of it. And everybody around him will say, yeah, oh yeah, no, I understand. No, you're right. And the first time that he was up against, in a situation where that wasn't happening, where he was receiving actual real world pushback, he didn't know how to handle it. And you see that, I think you saw that with Joe Biden over and over again. And I think that because of his age, due to Biden's age and mental capacity when he was president, he didn't have the political sense to spin it and get all folksy. Like he just didn't have any. He didn't
have the Clinton
patience.
charm.
Yeah, he didn't have patience for it anymore, and was getting pushback. And these people are so used to AOC, and this goes back to the Kamala Harris thing. They are so used to everywhere they go, they are surrounded by people who will give them, yes men, who and will, go, they can lie, they can about anything, and the person will say, you're exactly right. And they just don't know what it's like. In the real, and then they get presented and, they get out in the real world and they get told no, or somebody says like, no, I don't believe you. That's complete crap. And they don't know how to handle it. And I think that, the fact that so many leaders and so many people in power surround themselves with that idea that they just can't ever be wrong is a big part of why politicians are the way that they are and leaders are the way that they are.
Let me take you back early when Joe Biden actually had a brain and he was trying to use it and he was called on his grades. And the reporter says, no, you didn't have this. And he goes, I better have a higher IQ than you. I better did better than you. He just starts turning into Otto from A Fish Called Wanda. Don't call me stupid. Don't call me stupid.
When he was saying that he like graduated near the top of his class, and they pull out the records, and they're like, actually, you were like in the 80th percentile. Like you were near the bottom.
Second to the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, here are the facts. Well, what in the world? Yeah,
like Obama did with Benghazi before he got actually saved by Candy Crawley.
Yeah,
but I digress. Yeah.
Crane Durham from nothingbutruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page is here with us for the entire 2:00 hour. And from one loony to another, From Kamala Harris to Jasmine Crockett. As we mentioned on the show yesterday, we reported that she would be officially announcing her run for Senate, which she did yesterday afternoon, not long after we ended the show. Got some details about that situation I want to get into with Crane. And I want to talk about this story coming out of the University of Oklahoma because I find it fascinating. We're going to get into those stories and more as we continue with Crane Durham here on Colombo and Company.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Grasser Electric is the team that you can trust if you have an electrical problem at your home or business. They are the team that you can trust if you are doing work, if you have a project coming up at your home or business that requires electrical work. Grasser Electric is there to help. Also, they're a great place to work if you are in the trades or you are looking for a job in that area. Grasser Electric can not only solve your electrical problems, but also possibly provide you with a wonderful career. This is a great local family-owned business. You guys have heard me talk about Grasser, for years now. We found Grasser Electric when we moved into our new house about 3 years ago. And it just turns out that we're like literally down the street from Grasser, and moving into our new house, we needed some work done, needed some light fixtures moved around. And then since then, we've had a couple of electrical issues pop up here and there. And every single time it's like, it's not even I don't even get that pit in my stomach when something goes wrong, because I know I have a team that I can trust, that I can call, that will come over and they will do the job professionally. They'll leave the area cleaner than they found it. The price will be, you can trust them on their price and their explanation and everything else. They're just absolutely the best. So they also offer free quotes for new projects. So if you have an electrical problem or just need a quote for new work, you need to call Grasser Electric now. Learn more and contact them through the website, grasserelectric.com.
Hi, Sean Long with STL Fenceworks. Our company realized another extraordinary year of great business. I thank God for engineering our success and for this great nation and all the blessings it offers those who persevere and work hard. Second, I want to personally thank the great customers who put their faith in our company to make their home and backyard dreams a vision fulfilled. STL Fenceworks doesn't exist without you, and I'm humbled and grateful for your patronage. I also want to thank all my great employees. You're the backbone of STL Fenceworks. You make my vision a reality. I'm truly honored to work amongst such fine people. Finally, as the year ends, I want to remind everyone to take time to enjoy the season. Embrace your family and friends. Count the blessings in your life. Reflect on the important things. And don't forget the true meaning of Christmas. When a baby was born, Jesus, our Savior. On behalf of everyone at STL Fenceworks, have a very Merry Christmas and a blessed and prosperous New Year.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Today's story behind the story, the 1990 warning that Missouri and neighboring states would shake with a major quake.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
The world is a vampire sent to drain. Secret destroyer.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio. Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com on the line with us. And Crane,
yes,
Jasmine Crockett thinks that she is going to be a United States Senator. I talked about this yesterday. It's now official. She waited to the very last second to get into the race. The deadline to enter was last night. And late yesterday afternoon, she officially filed and is now in the race. I mentioned a couple weeks ago when we were talking about this idea, and she's been teasing and talking about this. Not unexpected. That that she's in the race now, that she was saying at an event or in an interview a couple weeks ago, hey, you want to take away my 100,000 person congressional seat? Well, then I'll just go, I'll trade that. I'll trade you the 100,000 congressional seat for, the multi-million person seat, being a senator from Texas. By the way, a Democrat has not won a statewide race, not just a Senate race, any statewide race in Texas for more than 30 years. And I'm not sure that Jasmine Crockett's going to be the Democrat that breaks that streak. She said last night, quote, there are a lot of people that said, you got to stay in the House. We need our voice. We need you there. And I understand that, but what we need is a bigger voice, kind of leaning into that same idea that she's brought up multiple times of, I'll have more power and more constituents. And if I move from the House to the Senate, I don't know. What do you make of Jasmine Crockett running for probably one of the most progressive candidates we have ever seen in American politics, thinking that they can win in Texas, a statewide race?
Okay, so what the candidate of Jasmine Crockett offers is Orange Man Bad Syndrome, terrible, inappropriate jokes that make you feel uncomfortable when you hear them, and policies that were disproven in the 20th century. That's what I take for Jasmine Crockett for 200, Alec. That's it. And this really goes to the state of our politics. I mean, there's always been Alan Graysons around and AOCs to a degree, but now they're winning on the Democratic primary side. And when a Republican gets a little nutty, they stick to the Constitution. They understand human nature. When Democrats get a little nutty, they go right to the socialism. They go right to the demonization of others in the sense of your opponent is evil as opposed to just wrong. And it creates a horrible atmosphere. Oh, yeah, and they're hypocrites, and they never really understand a policy until they have to live under it, like Snacks Pritzker and releasing criminals. He's never going to have to deal with that because he has a security detail. I mean, that's the Democratic Party. So, hey, Jasmine, go ahead and run, but you're running on the Orange Man Bad Syndrome and policies that don't work and harm your constituents.
I'm so glad you mentioned JB Pritzker because on my show prep about Jasmine Crockett, at the bottom of it, I wrote Crockett, Mondani, AOC. These are the faces. This is the leadership of the new, if you want to say it that way, Democratic Party, and JB Pritzker is in that group as well. And so today we're talking about Jasmine Crockett running for United States Senate. Yesterday on the show, we talked about Pritzker in Illinois and the U.S. Immigration and Customs, the ICE report that was released yesterday that shows that the state of Illinois just in 2025 has released the immigration detainers on, I'm looking for the number here because I didn't mean to talk about this today. It was 1,768 illegal immigrants in Illinois had their immigration detainers removed, and they're just been put back on the street by JB Pritzker. And many of these, and I went into all the stats yesterday. You go check it out on the podcast to get all the details. But many of these people have charges as serious as homicide and burglary and assault and sexual assault. And we got Jasmine, we got Zoe Mondani, who wants the city to own the grocery stores and wants to put Benjamin Netanyahu on trial in New York. We've got Jasmine Crockett.
Well, he is a Jew.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got Jasmine Crockett, and her extreme beliefs. We've got AOC and her extreme beliefs. We've got JB Pritzker, who's putting thousands of dangerous people back on the streets of his own state. And these are the power players and the future. Nancy Pelosi's going to be gone soon. There's no more Bidens. There's no more Clintons. There's no more Obamas. Chuck Schumer doesn't look like he's got very much time left. The Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Zorian Mondani, these people are going to be around. This is the next generation of these Democrats. It's a scary proposition, Crane.
It is a scary proposition, and this is really tells you where our political world is, and it, excuse the expression, sucks because you get really bad policies and anti-Semitism and actually glorifying terrorists and anti-cop, anti-ICE, anti-enforcement of the law. By the way, that's what undergirds us, the rule of law. And then on the other side, okay, we have actual problems we have to deal with. And this is why I get upset with President Trump when he doesn't address the economy and tariffs. And he keeps going forward and saying, no, it's not real. And, granted, he inherited the thing. See, I think all of us want a place where we could come out and criticize people rightly and have the media do its job in the sense of reporting what they say and questioning them. Always question, give them a hard time, all of them. But they only give one side a hard time. So while Trump has some policy things I totally disagree with, and I think he needs to change, then you go over to the Democratic side, and I've got anti-Semites. I've got communists. This stuff is horrible. I got fraud, big scale fraud. I've got the changing of our culture because we're not regulating illegal or legal immigration, but I would stick to the illegal right now and saying, hey, we're changing our culture, and this doesn't end well. We've got to get a hold of this. And so it really hurts the whole political scene for everybody.
Yeah. And it hurts the country.
Yes.
It hurts the country when you have there's only two political parties. So they wield a massive amount of power and influence over the entire country. And when you've got one of those two parties adopting actions like releasing criminals openly and proudly on the streets of the country, openly and proudly being racist and anti-Semitic, and openly and proudly insulting and degrading our military and our police officers. It's a dark world if that mindset truly takes hold in this country.
It is, and what we need accurate history taught in context. I mean, there's long-term solutions and getting to the root problems, go to the root and cut the root if you can. And that's where it is in education and everything. And people are waking up to that as they did under COVID, understanding that you have a anti-American history being told to these students. That's why you get these students out there who can't answer a question but chant like zombies, going, "Hey, what's reason with me? No, I'm not going to read. I'm going to shout you down. But I thought you were belief in freedom and everything. No, I don't believe in freedom. You're evil, and I'm going to shout you down, and I'm going to take your power away if you disagree with me." Reminds me of the COVID regime. I digress. Only to say that we are in a scary place and an inflection point in our history. And it's really important where we get up and we call things out. One of the things that saves us in all of this is that beautiful document and declaration and our Constitution and abiding by it, because then you can't have that power overreach too much. And so hopefully the courts will work things out when it comes to executive power and Article 1 powers for tariffs under the Constitution of Congress. But it requires that. But if we don't enforce this, if we have a society that says, hey, you know what? We're in a post-constitutional world, that's scary, frightening.
Talking to Crane Durham for nothingbutruth.com. I'm glad you brought up the young people because it moves me right in college campuses, because it moves me right into this this story out of the University of Oklahoma. And again, I don't know why these stories, maybe I just am interested in different things. I don't know why this story is not more well known or being more reported on, because I think this is the kind of thing that people really need to know about and would like to realize and hear the details of. University of Oklahoma professor is now facing disciplinary action in relation to a 0 grade given to a Christian student in a recent essay. The school confirmed that teaching assistant William Mel Kurth, who uses she/they pronouns, William does, had been removed from the classroom after flunking student Samantha Folnecki on an essay wherein Folnecki invoked her Christian beliefs and the Bible. Folnecki responded in support of gender norms, citing the Bible. She said that God made men and women and that gender norms should be considered stereotypes. It was a gender norms essay, was the assignment. So she was given a 0. And quote, society, this is part of what she wrote. Quote, society is pushing the lie that there are multiple genders and everyone should be whatever they want to be, is demonic and severely harms American youth. I do not want kids to be teased or bullied in school. However, pushing the lie that everyone has their own truth and everyone can do whatever they want and be whatever they want is not biblical whatsoever. This professor said that they found that insulting, and that's part of the reason that she was given a 0. And now, so this happened about a month ago, and here's the latest to get, because now there's a new layer. Now, an assistant teaching professor is accused of viewpoint discrimination stemming from a protest organized to advocate for Kurth's return. So there's a student group there that is angry at the University of Oklahoma for putting this, for suspending this teaching assistant for this 0, this totally uncalled for 0. And they are protesting for Kurth to be returned to the classroom. The University of Oklahoma released a statement on social media Friday confirming that the professor, whom it did not identify, offered excused absences to students who wanted to join that protest. However, the Oklahoma Turning Point USA chapter president, Caleb Magana, it went public and said that he asked for an excused absence so he could go protest the counter protest and was denied the ability to do so. So the university was granting excused absences if you wanted to go protest for the teacher to come back, but if you wanted to go protest that to keep the teacher out, you weren't excused from class.
It's like COVID rules under the 2020 regime in George Floyd era. So about protesting and gatherings and everything else. You see,
and who's allowed to speak and who's not allowed to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Who can, who can't, what's the side? Everybody knows, and this is sad, but we do know that there are gender or sex binary, which is male, female, and citing that from the beginning of time. Yes, in the sense of the creation of that, you can cite that, and that can be a part of what you do, I am sure, because that is what you believe, and then you can back it up with science, because you know what? This is interesting. Science is catching up to God. The more we learn, even in abortion, we realize that conception, the DNA profile is formed, okay? Science is catching up to God, and it vindicates God. Not that he needed that, but the fact is, it's true. And so now you have somebody who's mentally ill, or arguably, I'm not a doctor, thank you, but somebody who doesn't know their own gender and is living a delusion, which is gender
dysmorphia.
Morphia, thank you, love you. And then forcing that on their students. You know, there are schools, and I don't know if it's high schools too, but I suspect it is. And listen up, high schools are actually embracing these they crap, and it's dangerous and it's harmful. And if you have a student going to one of those schools, step up and stop this BS, because it's harmful. And it's really screwing up kids, because kids want to go someplace where they belong and feel they have an identity. And growing up, you're all over the place. It happens. Teenage years are very tough, okay? And you're looking for that place. And now that you're going to get identity and praise for being a certain something that the society likes, a society that's going right down the crapper, pardon me. But the fact is, that's true. Now we're seeing the introduction, or excuse me, the presenting of biblical beliefs. And what do they get? It's typical, a 0 by this mentally challenged professor.
And Crane, by the way, this wasn't a math question. There was no right answer. It was a gender norms essay assignment where the students were told to pick a belief, pick your argument, and make your case. It's an opinion.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. The grade is on, did you do it? Did you clearly
make the case?
Yeah. Did you clearly define your belief, and did you present a valid argument for it? It wasn't a right or wrong. It wasn't like, what's the right pronoun to use in this situation? And there's a right and a wrong answer according, you know what I mean? Like, this wasn't even
an opinion.
This was an opinion piece like this. And it was ruled, it was graded 0 literally because the professor said that they were insulted by the opinion.
And I feel
this
professor needs help and psychological help. I've never understood, even when I would teach history or sub or whatever it was, or even tell students about history, I would always qualify it to say, hey, look, this is my point of view, conservative, liberal. I would give the context and say, you can make your own decision. You believe what you want to believe.
Yeah.
Because you never want to be that bully.
Yeah.
It's like,
and it wasn't
it's
debate class.
manipulation.
It wasn't debate class. That's a different argument. That's not what these students were asked to do. They were asked they were asked to make an argument.
And she did
clearly, clearly make your stance and defend it. And she did. Talking to Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. Got one more segment to go here with Crane before we talk to Susie Moore, co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning. I mentioned at the beginning of the show that a new report from the where did it go? The Department of Homeland Security was just released today that shows ambulance transportation in the state of California has risen by nearly 400%. This is all attached, of course, to the immigration issue. Just more cold, hard facts about how damaging that has been for this country and for states. We'll fill you in on that story and more as we continue with Crane Durham next.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here.
Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1,
and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Hi, it's Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the largest RE/MAX franchise in the region. The summer housing market is hot, and the fall market looks to be as hot. If buying or selling a home is in your future, it is time to act now. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me, Mark Harder, for fast results. RE/MAX Results, 314-852-8933, 314-852-8933, and start packing.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Well, my own now. Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. One more segment to go here with Crane Durham from nothingbutruth.com. Then Susie Moore from Mike Ferguson in the Morning joins us in the 3 o'clock hour. Crane, as I mentioned, the Department of Homeland Security released data today or this week from the state of California that shows that the cost of taxpayer-funded ambulance transport has risen by 383%. The Trump administration is using this information to further attack Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom in California for providing healthcare services through state-funded Medi-Cal and federally funded Medicaid to illegal immigrants. DHS and the White House have both been critical of illegal migrants receiving healthcare benefits, mainly through emergency services. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement, quote, President Trump consistently promised to protect Medicaid for eligible beneficiaries. To keep that promise after Joe Biden flooded our country with tens of millions of illegal aliens, CMS and DHS are exploring an initiative to ensure that illegal aliens are not receiving Medicaid benefits that are meant for law-abiding Americans. In May, Gavin Newsom announced a plan to freeze new Medi-Cal enrollment for illegal migrants. So this is hilarious. So this is obviously costing California and many states around the country millions and millions of dollars. The immigration problem as a whole. And this is one just really good example of that. And in an attempt to look like he's trying to address it, this year in May, Newsom announced a plan to freeze new Medi-Cal enrollment for illegal migrants beginning next year in 2026. And the governor announced that his intention is to charge illegal migrants who are already enrolled in the program. So they're not getting kicked off if they're already on, getting money they don't deserve. He intends to start charging them for being on Medi-Cal. It was beginning in July of 2027. That'll help California, right now. It goes on to point out, just the influx of illegal aliens in California and the various costs. But I think this is a really good, I like real world examples, numbers, stats, that show the damage, that show the cost when we get loony with policy like under the Biden administration and under the Democrats in so many places. Your thoughts?
When hospitals have to shut down as well because they can't make it budget wise because of these things. And the Governor Pretzel, he really needs to stretch himself to make anything make sense because he wants to say something good very similar. 2027, we're going to do it. Why not now? You're in you got a crisis right now. Why'd you do it in the first place? Why'd you call people that were not in favor of that?
And how about we're not going to let illegal immigrants on in the program starting in the middle of next year? And he said that in May. So basically gave, more than a year, a heads up, hey, you better get in the program now. If you're not already, you better get in the program now. And then we'll start making you pay for it, a few years down the road, maybe.
Yeah. Incentives work.
Yeah.
And they can work against you too.
Yeah.
And this is what you're finding. See, you can't do that sitting around a kitchen table and having let's say you have one of the things that you need for your family, and you say, oh, you know what? I'm going to wait till next year and we'll print some more money, or we'll get by with it, or we'll pass a bond issue and somehow we'll make it. Can't do that. The buck stops right where you can't pay the bill. And so when you have this kind of situation, you are seeing what a politician does. They'll say the art of what's possible. It's politics. Now, the art of what's possible is to tell the people the truth, tell the consequence for the action, and take away the incentive for people to come here and get on the dole because they know they have no place to go. Why do people not jump into alligator infested waters to swim, even if they want to get to the other side? Because they'll die. It's a very big incentive not to jump in, right? And bottom line, when you come here and you get benefits and you see how that works with heads of family, lower education, because that's the people coming in illegally from our southwest border, you're going to see this, and it's all there. And you're saying, hey, I got a heart, but I also have a brain. And I know that what is really holding this whole system up to make sense and to be believed in is the fact that we got people doing it fairly and lawfully. And when we do it the other way, it undermines us in every single way. Check out schools. You're going to see the same kind of thing. Resources diverted.
Final piece of context on this story, Crane. So all of this 400%, nearly 400% increase in ambulance transportation in California is over the last just 3 years, even less than 3 years, since 2022. So in 2022, according to these numbers, which were collected by the California Department of Healthcare Services and then reported by the Department of Homeland Security, in 2022, the cost of taxpayer-funded ambulances was $339 per transport. That has risen to now $1,168 per transport. The state of California has submitted 2 requests to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services that, if approved, would increase ambulance transportation costs to $1,597 at the end of this year. In 2026, it would go to over $1,600 and over $1,800 the following year. I mean, it's just like, where are they going to $1,600 to have an ambulance ride to the emergency room, Crane? I mean,
it's amazing. People are actually
it's
leaving that
unsustainable. It's unsustainable, and
their ideology is unsustainable, though. That's the thing. And if these people move to another state, don't take your ripping policies with you, because then you're going to have to move again. And we're running out of places to move. Okay, it's scary stuff. But the fact is, these ideas are bad. Bad ideas have consequences, harmful consequences. And what you just did, Tony, which I love, is the fact you gave me a price tag on it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think because that's what you need. That's what you can hear, us scream about how it's damaging and it's costly. But when you hear those numbers and you see the staggering cost in just one area, we're just talking about ambulance rides in California. That's it. That's just one small area of this. It really does show you how the tremendous cost that this has been. Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com, Nothing But Truth Facebook page. As always, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
I love you.
Love you too, and look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. All right. Want to quickly remind you that if you missed any of that great conversation with Crane Durham, he's been with us for this entire 2 o'clock hour. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast. We put the show on as a podcast right after we get off the air every day. We put it on basically every podcast platform. So wherever your favorite place to get podcasts is on that platform, make sure you are subscribed to Colombo and Company, and you will never miss anything like the conversation that we're going to have with our very own Susie Moore from Red State, redstate.com, and of course, co-host of Mike Ferguson in the morning, every morning here on News Talk STL. Susie Moore joins us next.
Located in the heart of St. Charles, Kevin's Guns is your family-owned destination for all things firearms. Whether you're a collector, hunter, or military enthusiast, we have it or can get it for you. From new to used rifles and handguns in every style and caliber, our friendly and knowledgeable staff is here to help educate you and ensure you make the perfect choice for your needs. Buy, sell, or browse our incredible selection at kevinsguns.net or call 636-493-1195. Kevin's Guns, where gun enthusiasts come home.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This holiday season, help Feed My People fill the shelves. News Talk STL and the STL County GOP are partnering for an annual food drive, November 10th through December 21st. Drop off your non-perishable food donations at all Bartolino's restaurants, all Chris's Pancakes and dining locations, and all 3 Michael's Flooring outlets, or at the News Talk STL studios.
Hey, it's Larry Connors, and together we can make a difference for families in need.
Visit newstalkstl.com for complete drop-off locations.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. Until I called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump traveling to Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania today, where he'll deliver a speech focused on affordability and economic issues. That event being held at the Mount Airy Casino Resort. It marks one of the president's few domestic trips this term aimed at addressing cost of living concerns. Republican strategist Darren McGuire believes the president should take the lead in defending his economic policies and how they're helping America.
Well, there are plenty of economic indicators that show that the Trump doctrine on the economy is working. The American people aren't feeling it. And this is where President Trump, as a communicator in chief, can step in and do what Joe Biden refused to do, which is acknowledge that hardship, talk about what's being done, and show the American people that this path is working.
Meanwhile, job openings stayed flat at 7.7 million in October, according to the Labor Department in its latest report on hiring. It says that hiring and quits showed minimal movement, reinforcing signs of slower demand for new workers. President Trump says that Ukraine is going to have to be willing to make some concessions, including giving up some land if it really wants peace with Russia.
They have to play ball if they don't read agreements, potential agreements. You know, it's not easy with Russia because Russia has the upper hand, and they always did. They're much bigger.
And those comments from the president, courtesy of Politico. A federal judge ruled this week President Trump's order to halt all new wind energy leasing is unlawful. That was a disappointment for EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin.
Wind obviously is an intermittent source. It's not baseload power. It is not reliable. And once you produce the energy through it, then you have to store it, and that creates transmission.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Gift giving occurs year-round, whether for birthdays, holidays, or a special expression of thanks to your best clients and customers. Of course, you want to show your love and gratitude, but you also want to give a gift that provides a positive image of you and your organization. Solaire infrared grills from besthotgrill.com are both practical and unforgettable. Made in the USA, Solaire has a grill for most budgets, but more importantly, Solaire delivers the wow that everybody likes to receive in a gift. Impressive out of the box, and even more so in use, the Solaire infrared grills are the gift of value that will build relationships. With every great tasting, juicy meal enjoyed from their Solaire, they'll think of you. Step up your gift giving. Learn more about the amazing Solaire infrared grills at besthotgrill.com. That's besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've issued a First Alert Weather Day for Wednesday, and it's all due to the winds. There is an advisory out from 3 a.m. to noon. The strongest winds will be in the morning to midday. Gusts around 40 to 50 miles per hour, and it's going to get much colder. Wake-up temperatures near 40, but falling quickly in the morning and through the afternoon into the 30s. So a partly to mostly cloudy day, windy and much colder. Then Thursday, partly to mostly cloudy, a high of 39 degrees as that chill settles in. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News Commentary with Jesse Waters next.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. Jesse Waters.
Now, what's so sensitive about the cartels in Latin America that certain people are trying to protect? Same thing happened in Ukraine, remember? When Trump zeroed in on Biden family corruption there, a CIA agent leaked a phone call to Schiff and they impeached the president. Now Trump's zeroing in on Latin America and CIA Slotkin is threatening soldiers. And someone in the deep state's leaking to the Post, trying to get Hegseth impeached. What kind of corruption and money are we looking at down here in Latin America that some people in our government don't want looked at? We know the CIA and USAID, they've been playing games down there for decades in the dark. Now, the minute Trump takes an interest in our own backyard, not in Europe, not in the Middle East, suddenly powerful forces are trying to set him up. Very fishy. When did killing terrorists become a scandal?
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just a convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app. Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Like a fool, I went and stayed too long. I'm wondering if your love's still strong. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered.
I'm yours. Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com for joining us in that 2 o'clock hour. Again, if you missed any of it, and just want to make sure you never miss anything that happens here on the show, subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. All right, continuing the conversation now with our friend Susie Moore from Red State, redstate.com, Red State Radio every Sunday afternoon here on News Talk STL, and the co-host of Mike Ferguson in the morning every morning starting at 5:30 a.m. here on News Talk STL. Susie, just your job description is a lot. I don't know how you do it, but thank you as always for your time, my friend.
It's all an illusion. I'm just juggling as best I can.
I seriously, I mean, it is tremendous that you are able to be on as much as you are, because there is so much specifically happening with, court cases and things like that you can keep us up to speed on that are so important. And I was kind of talking about this in the last hour. I feel like one of the problems of the news cycle today is that there is so much information and it's not a bunch of filler. There's, I think, really important stories and really important issues that people would want to know about and should know about that unfortunately just don't get any, any airtime because there's only so many minutes in the day. And so to have somebody that is able to help us break some of these things down is always a big help. So thank you as always.
Well, glad I can be helpful.
Let's dive right in here. I see that one of your most recent article at redstate.com is an update on where we are at with the whole Epstein files and the release of information. So if you could just tell us where we're at right now with this situation.
Well, okay. So when all of this really started bubbling up kind of over the summer, and there was kind of this back and forth about whether and to what extent the quote unquote Epstein files could be released by the DOJ, one of the things that the administration did in an effort to address that was go back to the courts that had overseen the criminal cases as to Jeffrey Epstein and as to Ghislaine Maxwell, and ask those judges or ask those courts to agree to unseal the grand jury materials. Both there were cases in Florida. There was a case in Florida as to Epstein, and then there was one as to him in New York and one as to Maxwell in New York. And those involved grand jury proceedings. And normally grand jury proceedings are kept secret for a reason, for good reason. And so
to protect the innocent, to protect victims, right? I mean, that's two of the biggest reasons.
Exactly. And so the DOJ lost that effort in the summer. The judges there were like, no, you haven't really made a showing here that there's a justification for overturning that presumption of secrecy. Now, however, there is, of course, the Epstein Transparency Act that was passed in mid-November. And so the DOJ has gone back to those courts and said, okay, well, here we have an act of Congress signed by the president basically commanding the DOJ to disclose everything that it has in its possession or ever had in its possession related to these cases. Will you sign off on it? The court in Florida last week said, yeah, I think you've made the showing now with this, legislation. And then today, one of the judges in New York, the one that is overseeing the Maxwell case, agreed and said, yep, I think you make the showing here. There's, the act was clearly designed to address this. There are protections built into it to protect the innocent, the victims. I'm going to go ahead and sign off on it. So the only thing that they're waiting on now, as far as what the courts are, and as far as the court's involvement, is the judge that's overseeing the Epstein case in New York. And my suspicion is that he's going to see what his buddy down the hall did on the Maxwell case today and say, yeah, what he said.
So, man, there's so many questions. I want to break. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning. Mm-hmm. The term Epstein files is used so often. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are the Epstein files? Because I think everybody has a different idea in their head what they think the Epstein files are. Like it's a list of people who were sleeping with underage people on an island somewhere, or it's it's records, it's business transactions and payments and bribes and whatever, like they're just like all these things. In general, when somebody says Epstein files, are they talking about what we're talking about right now? Are they talking about the grand jury materials? Is that part of the Epstein files? Is it something else? Is it something separate with the case? Like, I think that people keep, they use we use these blanket statements like release the Epstein files, but what do you mean? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What are the Epstein files in your opinion?
Well, I think you hit on it. I mean, it means different things to different people. Now, when I'm using the term currently, what I'm referring to is the fact that in the act that was just passed by Congress, the DOJ was specifically instructed to turn over, and there's a whole list of what it was instructed to turn over, but I can simplify it by basically saying anything and everything in its possession, all documents, all materials whatsoever that aren't classified, which there may be none that are classified, but just to be clear, they aren't asking for classified material. They're supposed to turn that all over. Well, obviously, some of what the DOJ has in its possession is material that was used in conjunction with these grand jury proceedings. And so before it can just turn them over, it's got to get the clearance from the courts to do that. So what we're talking about in theory is all manner of documents, correspondence, flight manifests, transactions, receipts. I don't know for sure what's there until they turn over what's there.
So do we think
but
that
basically,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say any of their investigative material that went into building these criminal cases against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
So if these materials that we're talking about with this, in this story, this latest update, if these materials are released, will the people that are waiting for the Epstein files to come out, will this give them that? And will this satisfy? Will it end that discussion? Like, hear it, or is there more? Like, and I know that, and I know we don't know what we don't know what if they may redact things or whatever, may not release every piece of information, but assuming they do, with this, what we're talking about right now, these grand jury materials, would that be the files that people have been clamoring for and arguing about for the last year? Or will there be more to it?
There's more to it than that, because that's just one portion of it. I mean, the DOJ has materials that weren't part of the grand jury proceedings. Those are compelled to be turned over as well. This is just one portion of it. And I will say that the grand jury materials themselves probably aren't going to be satisfying to anybody, because the judge that ruled today already kind of said as much. He's like, look, I've looked at this stuff. There's nothing in the grand jury materials that wasn't already out there in Ghislaine's trial. So if you just segmented out what the court just gave them permission to unseal, no, probably not. But that's not all of it. That's not all of what the act compels them to turn over. Presumably, there will be additional materials that they are turning over. Now, I have no way of knowing whether anything that they turn over under the, pursuant to the act, which they are obligated to do by December 19th, is going to satisfy that. There's some people who are never going to be satisfied.
Yeah.
There are some people who are going to be convinced.
They've made up their
to
mind.
Day.
Yeah, they've made up their mind what's
Correct.
in there, and if that's not given to them, they're
right.
You're right.
And it could very well be that there's nothing, particularly revelatory, that there's no bombshells. And so people are still disappointed with it, even those who accept that this is all there is. I don't know. There's no way for me to know. But we are seeing at least the DOJ making the efforts to comply with what it is compelled to do under the act, and it has 10 more days to do.
Yeah, and 10 more days to do that, and then years more of debating and this story being something we're talking about, I think, at least.
Yeah, it's never going to go away. It's always going to be, there's always going to be people with theories about, stuff that we weren't made privy to that really is, deep down damning to powerful people. And there may be. I have no way of saying there isn't.
Yeah. I mean, not to get into all that, but there, at some level, there has to be something. But that's just my opinion. Talking to Susie Moore from Red State and Mike Ferguson in the morning, our legal expert here on Colombo and Company. Another story I wanted to get your insight on. Some of the headlines today were regarding the Supreme Court. Supreme Court appears likely to agree with President Donald Trump that he can fire at will the heads of some independent agencies, hearing arguments on December 8th, yesterday, in a case that could redefine how more than a dozen agencies operate and shift power from Congress to the president. I'm reading this particular report from the USA Today's website, but this is everywhere. This is just the one that I have pulled up right here. The agencies were set up by Congress to be led by politically balanced boards of experts serving staggered fixed terms, but Trump argues presidential control will make agencies like the Federal Trade Commission, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and Federal Election Commission more accountable to voters who elect presidents. And these reports are, and maybe you can fill us in on why it seems to be leaning this way, that the Supreme Court is leaning towards ruling and agreeing with the Trump side of this case right now. Can you just give us the latest on this?
Yeah, it kind of all goes back to a case called Humphrey's Executor that's like almost 100 years old, maybe 90 years old.
Yeah, I keep seeing Humphrey's Executor. Yeah.
That's what this is all kind of hinging on, and that's what we think the court's probably going to do away with. But let me take another step back and give a broader view of it. Congress set up these agencies and delegated this authority to them, but they're not legislative agencies. They're under the executive branch. The president gets to appoint the commissioners and the board members, the people that make up these agencies. So he's saying, look, if I'm allowed to appoint them, I should be allowed to.
If I can hire them, I can fire them. I mean, basically,
correct.
right?
Okay. And while they have some functions that are somewhat legislative, basically they're executive agencies. They fall under the executive branch. If you look at, if you did a flow chart, they're not congressional agencies, they're executive agencies. And really what ended up happening is that Congress decided to outsource a lot of its responsibilities and a lot of its political consequences by setting up these agencies and then saying, okay, you make the rules, you do all this. We don't have to pay the political consequences for it because it's not us doing it, it's you. So really, one of my favorite things about Trump administration 2.0 has been, and on multiple fronts, it's pushing the federal government to get each branch to get back in its proper lane. We've seen the Supreme Court, last year it made some important rulings with regard to the way the regulatory state is handled that kind of pulled back some of that overreach and some of that power. We're seeing the executive branch now, the administration, push to say, look, here are the powers that should belong to the executive. Here are the powers that should belong to Congress. And if Congress doesn't want the president to have that much say over what's done in this agency and that agency, then Congress needs to pull that power back to itself. So, and the reason people are saying that this is probably going to go the president's way is because there's been a push to overrule Humphrey's Executor for a long time. And now we've got like the perfect setup for it. And based on the way that the conservative justices were questioning things yesterday, I haven't listened to the argument yet. I really want to go back and listen to it, but I haven't had a chance to. It sounds very much like they are predisposed to say, yeah, you know what, this isn't right. And really what's ultimately happening here is each branch is being shoved back into its proper lane. People just don't like it because they're not used to it looking that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And hopefully in that shoving them back into their lanes, maybe also pulling them back a little bit as well, and limiting or cutting out some of the government overreach, as you said, that has just become like commonplace. We're just used to it now, but that's not the way it was supposed to be.
There isn't a fourth branch of government. The administrative state, the bureaucracy isn't, who are they accountable to? Because they aren't elected. So if we don't have a way to make sure that they're accountable to the people who are elected, we're all kind of, at their mercy, and none of us chose them.
Mm-hmm. Susie, got one more case that I wanted to get your thoughts on, and I just saw this today, and it really, this one, like, get ready to roll your eyes. If you're not aware of this one, you probably are, but not everybody is. This a report coming from Politico, so consider the source there. The headline is J.D. Vance already running for president? The Supreme Court wants to know. J.D. Vance's 2028 ambitions were a hot topic among the justices today as the Supreme Court heard a case looking to upend campaign finance restrictions originally brought by the now vice president when he was a Senate candidate. Quote, there's no evidence that the vice president has abandoned his intention to run for federal office in 2028, said Noel Francisco, the former Solicitor General representing Republican House and Senate Committee, and Vance in the case in RSC versus FEC. At issue was whether Vance's current public ambiguity, you know that word, about his presidential ambitions 3 years from now rendered his original case, which sought to allow more coordination between political parties and candidates, moot. This, again, what are we doing now? Like, are we not? We're talking about is for campaign finance reasons. Is J.D. Vance thinking about running for president in 2028? Isn't every vice president thinking about running for vice president especially if they're in a lame duck administration? And I don't know. This just feels like we're making things up to dig into or go after people on. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'd love to get your thoughts.
So what the issue here is that this was raised before he was ever even, a nominee for vice president.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes to a larger issue about to what extent candidates' campaigns can actually coordinate with the parties themselves. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have the slightest clue about the ins and outs of that aspect of it. It's just not something I've studied up on. Right. But the issue was raised quite some time ago. And then subsequent to that, J.D. Vance became the vice presidential nominee, and now he is serving, the current vice president. So having not listened to the argument today, but based on what you're saying, my suspicion is that one of the questions being raised is whether the case itself is moot because he's no longer in the position that he was when this was originally brought. And so the issues that were raised there may no longer be, really ripe for adjudication by the court. That's this is just a ballpark guess because I haven't dug in on this one. So I think that's why it's become a topic of conversation. It's not that he did anything wrong. It's just that he's in a different position and the case is maybe in a different posture now that he's no longer where he was when the case was initially brought.
Yeah. To your point, here's a little bit more of the context. Roman Martinez, a prominent Supreme Court litigator tapped by the justices to defend the current law after the Trump administration declined to do so, argued that Vance must have a, quote, concrete plan to persist in the legal case seeking to lift the coordinated spending limits. And it sounds like, this was originally a J.D. Vance was saying like, hey, let's not, let's do a better job of making sure elected officials are doing their job and not, just running for office and all of that, which I'm totally, I totally agree with. But also, what are we talking about here? If we got to, every elected official is probably, guilty of some sort of using, their position as a campaign pulpit and to be running for their next job pretty much all the time. So
I don't think that's I don't think that's really what the issue is. I think that just the issue is whether or not, because he is no longer in the position he was when the case was brought, whether that makes the arguments that were made and raised on his behalf earlier basically moot. In other words, is there an issue here that goes beyond just his particular candidacy or candidacies and position that goes to a larger issue that the court can rightly decide, even though he's no longer situated the way he was when the case was brought? I might go back and look and find that I'm reading that wrong, but just based on what little I know at this point, that's my sense of what's being argued here. Not so much that he doesn't have the right to seek higher office.
Mm-hmm. I trust your instincts certainly better than mine, and that's why we appreciate your time as always. Susie Moore, check out her articles every day at redstate.com. Tune in every Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. for Red State Radio here on News Talk STL, and of course, every morning, 5:30 a.m., Mike Ferguson in the morning with Susie Moore here on News Talk STL. Susie, thank you as always. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Thanks, Tony. You too.
Great stuff there from Susie Moore. All right, before we get out of here and hand things off to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, I want to set the stage for some of the issues that I'm sure we're going to dig much deeper into tomorrow when we talk to our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd. We really dig into all the local issues with Rodney on Wednesdays. We have several local stories that are in the headlines today, including an $80 million budget shortfall in St. Louis County. Of course, the latest on the redistricting issue and a Missouri lawmaker that is proposing a new red flag law in the state of Missouri. So I'm going to fill you in on some of these local issues and give you a preview of what is to come in the coming days with some of these really important stories in our area. So we will get you updated on all that and more next on Colombo Company.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. This is 1019 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
So, your home specifically, and very possibly your gutters and your siding have been through the ringer this year. A lot of severe weather early in the year in the spring. And then, we had all the snow and ice here recently to kick off the winter. If you have any gutter damage or, leaf protection problems on your gutters, or if you have damaged siding or need siding replacement at your home, there's one team to call that does all of that stuff and more. And of course, that is the Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. It was amazing that I had forgotten that how many leaves had fallen right before it snowed, and then the snow melted and all the leaves were back. And it's a reminder that going back to that leaf protection on your gutters, if that's not something that you have, unless you live in a field somewhere, making sure that you have the best and functioning leaf protection on your gutters at your home or business is so important. And this winter weather is also a great reminder of why it's important not only to have your gutters in full working order and draining properly, but also your siding, holes in the siding, cracks in the siding that allow moisture to get in. And then with these temperatures freezing and the ice getting back there and expanding, things can get very costly and very damaging down the line if you don't address these issues while they are happening. And I can tell you from personal experience, having the Gutter Pros work on a couple of issues at our home, that they are absolutely the best. So whether it be gutter installation, gutter repair, leaf protection, siding repair, siding installation, fascia, soffit, all of that and more, the team to call is the Gutter Pros. Learn more and contact them now just by going to the website, gutterpros.com.
What's the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't want? Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline. We're a group of attorneys that help customers legally exit their timeshares. It's an easy process. We guarantee results or you pay nothing. Exit your timeshare today. Call now.
800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Let me begin by putting you in charge of stopping those drug boats. Would you blow the hell out of them or take the advice of a New York Times columnist? I'll give you his view in a moment. While you're thinking of your answer, know this. The New York Times reporting that Biden's closest advisors warned him about an open border. They told him repeatedly in staff meetings, your policy will lead to chaos. Biden and his confidants ignored the warnings over and over. One source said Biden and his inner circle made two big mistakes. One, underestimating the scale of immigration with an open border. That was stupid. Secondly, they didn't realize how this policy would be reflected in the election. Many voters, including Latinos, cited immigration as their reason to support Trump. So back to what you would do with the narco terrorist. Blow them out of the water, as we have been doing? A New York Times columnist, David Brooks, argues if the administration really cared about stopping the drugs, they would not be blowing up the evidence. What? He says they would be questioning those on the boats, not killing them. This New York Times writer is ignorant of basic, simple facts, or thinks we are. My vote, blow them out of the water.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I want to tell you more about Wellington Environmental's dustless blasting services. Wellington can blast paint, grease, graffiti, even stripes off parking lots. Truly amazing and powerful. But can Wellington blast something more sensitive? Yes, Wellington can use dry ice to blast soot and odors off smoke-damaged surfaces right after a fire. Currently, Wellington uses dry ice to clean mold off wood inside a home. Why? Well, dry ice immediately disappears, turns into a vapor. That means no mess to clean up, no damaged surfaces. You need to check with Wellington, always researching and practicing with new, better, faster, safer equipment and products for you. And it's very easy to schedule an estimator for your next project. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 644-4930. Be well with Wellington.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here.
And Santa's head Vic head here.
And you can win some great prizes with News Talk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
You forgot the ho-ho-ho. You forgot the ho-ho-ho.
Oh!
No, ho-ho.
Log on to newstalkstl.com for your chance to win great prizes from Havana 1961 Restaurant, Trolley Stop Bakery, and Whistle Pig Outdoors. newstalkstl.com.
Oh!
Looking for a gift sure to please? Simply go to Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. You get a gift card, you choose the value, then they can use it at any of the Napoli locations. Plus, you want to surprise them with something totally unexpected? Walk a few doors down, Lit Cigar Lounge. That gift card can be used for premium cigars, lighters, decorative ashtrays. Once again, you made someone happy. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta and Lit Cigar Lounge.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Today's story behind the story, the 1990 warning that Missouri and neighboring states would shake with a major quake.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Yeah, my heart will always be with my home. 'Cause home's the only place got my heart.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Susie Moore for joining us in that last segment. If you missed it, make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you never miss anything that happens here on the show. Before we dive back into these stories, I want to remind you that our holiday food drive is underway, and you still have time, couple weeks, but time flies. So if you are able to and are inclined to, we would really appreciate it if you would help us out. We have teamed up with the St. Louis County Republican Central Committee for a food drive this year, benefiting Feed My People right here in St. Louis. The food drive goes through December 21st. And you can find our holiday food drive barrels and make donations at all three Bartolino's locations, both Chris's Pancake and Dining locations, and all 3 Michael's Flooring outlet locations. All you have to do is go to our website, newstalkstl.com. You'll see right there on the front page the banner for our holiday food drive, and you can click on that and you can find the closest one of these locations to you. You can learn more about Feed My People, and of course, we want to thank our partners, the St. Louis County Republican Central Committee, for helping us out with our 2025 News Talk STL Holiday Food Drive. Again, newstalkstl.com for all of those details. All right. As I mentioned a moment ago, not only a busy news week with national news, but also a lot going on here locally. And we are going to dig into a lot of these topics tomorrow when we have our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd, on the line with us. But just to get you caught up on the latest happening here in our area, let's see. Number one. Oh, I had the wrong stack of papers in my head. Number one, St. Louis County leaders are facing a budget shortfall of more than $80 million. And today, the county council is expected to discuss how to address it. There are 2 proposals on the table. This will be perfect to talk to Rodney about tomorrow, because it will be after the county council meeting that is happening this afternoon. 2 proposals on the table. County executive, number one is County Executive Sam Page. He is advocating for using Rams settlement money. That Rams settlement money, it just, it goes away. People stop talking about it and forget about it, and then it just pops back up, whenever it's convenient. But yeah, remember all that? Still sitting there. Ram settlement money and generating revenue through an internet sales tax. So that is how County Executive Sam Page wants to address the $80 million budget shortfall in St. Louis County. Rams money and new taxes. The county council is proposing major across-the-board cuts, including the potential closure of the county's 3 public health clinics. Council members say St. Louis County can no longer rely on its reserves and must make significant changes to ensure long-term financial stability. Just like everybody else in the real world. Cuts could also affect the police department and prosecutor's office. The St. Louis County Council meeting begins this afternoon at 6 p.m. and officials are expected to make key decisions on how the county will move forward. Also, opponents of Missouri's new congressional map submitted thousands of petition signatures today calling for a statewide referendum on a redistricting plan that was put into place this summer. Of course, we covered this, in detail during the special session, but they only needed to turn in around 110,000 signatures to potentially get this on the ballot, and more than 300,000 signatures were turned in to the Secretary of State's office today. So we are going to get you all the details and dig into that story and keep you up to speed there as the week progresses. And one more issue that I'm looking forward to getting the details on and keeping you up to speed on. The Missouri lawmaker has filed legislation that would allow people living in the same household to seek court orders for the temporary removal of weapons from someone who poses immediate danger. So a red flag law, essentially, but a little bit different take on the red flag law situation. And this is being proposed by State Representative Steve Butts, Democrat. So we will get into that story and continue to monitor that through the week and keep you up to speed every step of the way. All right, that's going to do it for us this afternoon. Ashlyn and I, Colombo and Company, back tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next, then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine in or carry out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That fun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You know, there's a certain way we do things around here, the Grasser way.
The Grasser way?
We don't cut corners and we don't take shortcuts. Not on the little stuff and not on the big stuff.
We do the big stuff.
That's right. Whole home generators that kick on the moment the grid gives